When it comes to the YouTube platform, there aren't many people on here nowadays who can avoid drama entirely and just make their own content. Every community has its share of drama, and creators that get into some shit that causes some type of backlash. Some notable examples are the beauty community, Friday Night Funkin', the art community, etc. It can be hard sometimes to just simply make videos without any controversy, especially depending on what genre you're making videos for. But some people can make it on YouTube completely unscathed without having a single notable controversy under their belt, and one of those people is the subject of this video, Scott The Woz. Starting out in 2017, more than 6 years ago at this point, Scott has managed to exist and become popular on the platform without a single major controversy in memory, except for maybe some of his videos being hated on a bit more than others. And I find this to be pretty interesting for many reasons, which I'll be discussing in this video. I'm not going to pretend like this isn't just an excuse for me to talk about Scott though. I really like the dude's videos and I've been watching him for years, so this will probably be just me praising him for most of the time. I'll get back to the 10-minute videos of me shitting on people soon, guys, I promise. But before we begin, I want to do some shameless self-promotion since I don't have a harassment disclaimer or something like that to put here. Hey, I have a join button in case you want to support my channel. Please click it if you don't want this to become me in 5 years. I need to eat, guys, please. Thank you. And with that out of the way, let's get into the video. Now, in order for me to explain how exactly Scott was able to completely avoid drama over time, I'm gonna bring up some comparisons to other YouTubers in the same exact genre that he's in, and how they handled controversies that they've gotten themselves into. But first, I want to get any biases out of the way, and express some of my own opinions about gaming videos in general. Why am I doing this, you ask? Because this is my video, shut the fuck up. Ever since I was younger, I've always been a fan of watching certain gaming reviewers. I've been watching people like ABGN, Ant Dude, Some Call Me Johnny, and many others for years now, and it's become one of my favorite types of content to watch in general. I always liked seeing people's opinions on certain games, whether it was mostly comedic like ABGN, or in a more serious way like Some Call Me Johnny, but either way I loved gaming videos. So to say the least, I'm glad that I found Scott's content. I've been watching him for a few years now, and generally appreciate how he makes videos, to say the least. With his videos, it's very much a mix of comedy and Scott's genuine opinions about games. Like, he'll make jokes, but he won't hype up how much he likes or dislikes a game, and he'll just say what he really thinks about it, which I like a lot. And you'd think that with game reviews, there wouldn't be much variety with the content, as it's just, you know, reviewing games. But Scott has always done way more than that. He'll seemingly make a video on literally anything that involves gaming, whether it was on game controllers, individual consoles, single games, even box art at one point. Scott would make videos on anything. Hell, he would sometimes make videos that doesn't involve gaming at all, though this is a rarity for his channel and has only happened a few times. And this is something that I appreciate a lot from him. The fact that he has this much variety in his content is one of the reasons why he's become as popular as he is currently. The way he makes his videos makes his content way better than it could have been otherwise, and keeps his current videos pretty fresh. Which brings me to my first actual point of this video, consistency of content. With a lot of creators on YouTube, there's a general feeling that their content peaked at a certain point and is slowly declining. This will then start a controversy and spawn countless video essays and hate comments when people just comment on how things used to be. The biggest example of this is the Angry Video Game Nerd, or ABGM for short, which is still a respected series in general, but it's seen as a shadow of its former self essentially. ABGN's peak of content was seen as from 2006 to 2010 essentially. There are some episodes of the series that are seen as classics past that time period, but most episodes that people remember came from that earlier era of the series. And the whole series in general is just seen as going downhill in recent times. He still gets about 1 million views per episode, which is still pretty good considering that he started this series back in 2004, but they aren't really as appreciated as they used to be. Another notable example of this is Nostalgia Critic, except with Nostalgia Critic, his videos weren't really that good to begin with, and they just got worse over time. I could commend Doug Walker for wanting to be creative and make stuff, but he just isn't as talented as James Rolfe, especially as most of the writing for his series is pretty bad to say the least. But what about Scott? Does he have this consistency problem that would get his fans to start disliking him, all while causing a controversy? Well, no. In fact, I'd argue that his videos just got way better over time. Scott has been making gaming videos since 2017, for about 6 years at this point. You'd think that at some point, considering the type of videos that he makes, that he'd burn out or the videos would become less than what they were previously, but no, they just get better. And to be fair here, directly comparing him to people like ABGN and Nostalgia Critic might be a bit unfair. James Rolfe especially has been making ABGN episodes pretty consistently since 2006. That means that he's been making these videos consistently consistently for 17 years. That's almost 2 decades. So the series declining eventually does make sense, but I feel like that's not the only reason for the series' decline. James Rolfe's idea for AVGN as a whole is pretty limiting to say the least. There's not a whole lot of variety that can be had with someone cursing and swearing about old shitty video games. And while that's an extremely exaggerated description, and that's not all that AVGN is, there's definitely a lack of variety there, and I doubt that anybody is denying that. But Scott will talk about literally anything regarding gaming. This allows him to branch out with more topics that he covers, and is the reason why I think he will completely outlive AVGN on YouTube and most gaming YouTubers in general. But what about general drama? Gaming YouTubers are no stranger to saying and doing things that are seen as controversial. It could be anything from something small like a game opinion that people didn't like, to actually doing something pretty bad that shouldn't be defended, and anywhere in between. This can spark a YouTuber being hated for a short period of time, or at the very least, can spawn a corner of the internet that starts hating said YouTuber, even if most people still like them to this day. One recent example of this is, again, James Rolfe. Using this recent thing with him is kind of cheating in a way, since it isn't related to gaming, but he's largely known for gaming content in general, so I thought that using him as an example again would be good for the video. So for some context, what happened with James Rolfe is that whenever he was releasing one of his episodes in a series, Monster Madness, part of the script for his video was completely plagiarized and had copy-pasted stuff from an article that was just put in there. His explanation for this is that he had multiple writers and this slipped out under his radar, but I'll play a clip of James Rolfe himself explaining what went on, since he explains it a lot better than I could.
My instruction would be, hey, do some research, talk about some behind-the-scenes stuff, look up some trivia, but somebody copy-pasted some stuff and just put it in the script. So I thought that person wrote it themselves, so I recorded the scripts unknowingly, and that's how it happened.
This is something that was pretty bad, and while James Rolfe did own up to it and apologize, which I respect him for, this made a vocal minority of his audience start to dislike him. Another example I have of gaming YouTubers getting into controversy is probably the first one that people think of when this conversation comes up, the JonTron and Destiny debate. For some context for anyone who doesn't know what I'm talking about, JonTron went onto the live streamer Destiny's live stream in 2017, and was arguing for some pretty controversial political opinions to say the least. I'm not even going to give my opinions on this, because fuck politics, and I don't want anybody arguing about that shit in my comment section. There's no need for that. But what I will say is that this started to give JonTron a lot of hate at the time. He made his statement, apologizing essentially just for how he worded many of his statements and how his points came across, which seemed to calm most people, and he was able to move on. But ever since then, there's been an increasingly growing vocal minority that dislikes JonTron for what happened in that debate. But what about Scott? What big controversy has he been through, if any? Well, while trying to research his video, I wasn't really able to find anything. This statement might not age well in the future, but at the time that I'm writing this video, Scott has a completely clean record, and a spotless reputation essentially. The only hate that I've seen for the guy was when he would make a slightly controversial video, which really would only get more dislikes than usual, and that was about it. Scott's main focus all this time has just been making his videos. He doesn't get himself involved in any situation that would cause hate towards him, nor does he really say anything too controversial that would alienate a lot of his audience. You think that this would just be easy to do. Just don't say anything controversial, and don't get involved in drama. Seems simple enough. But considering how many YouTubers get into controversies, sometimes over saying the littlest of things, it does surprise me how Scott hasn't gotten any sort of hate yet, though it's more of a pleasant surprise, honestly. Scott is one of my favorite YouTubers on the platform, and at least so far, he's been able to do what so many YouTubers just straight up can't accomplish, which is avoiding drama and just making funny videos. And I have a huge amount of respect for him for this, and just in general. Moving on. Scott The Woz is a very unique YouTuber to say the least. From the type of humor he has in his videos, to how he handles his channel, to the way he makes his videos in general, focusing way more on quality than quantity, he is a YouTuber that I can't help but respect for many reasons. Even going back to Scott's videos that he made before his gaming videos, he was still very funny and had good comedic timing. The only thing really different with his humor here is his delivery, with it being way more laid back and monotone. But other than that, it's just normal Scott The Woz. It's cool to see that the blueprint for his channel was already there right from the beginning. And even when he was making his first gaming videos, they weren't terrible. They were still pretty good, even if the production quality itself wasn't the best. And that's what I think is pretty cool. He's been consistent since the beginning, and I haven't seen a single bad video from Scott. But I could say good things about Scott's channel all day. I've had around 2,000 words of compliments towards him so far, in fact. So I think I'm just gonna end it here. Thanks for watching this video. I know this was a little bit different than my normal commentary videos, but I wanted to make something more positive for once. We'll see how it turns out when I upload this. 10 of 10 ranking a YouTube studio. Here I come. If you want to support me and my content, you can subscribe to the channel, become a channel member, follow my second channel, Twitter, and podcast. And if you don't want to do any of that, you don't have to. Just watching this video is enough, so thank you. I also have a few more projects in the work for this year, which I'm excited to get out, so I'll keep everyone posted on the statuses of those. And with all that being said, I'm done with this video. Oh yeah, one last thing. #FLM.